In my last video, I gave an overview of the CDI. In part 2, we will have a look at many of the games that were released on the Philips CDI. The CDI's library contained many titles spanning a myriad of genres, with many games featuring full motion video and 3D rendering. But before we begin, I want to show you a couple of the controllers. There were several controllers that were made for the CDI. This one looks like a Genesis controller, and this one looks like a Super Nintendo controller, but without the L and R buttons. Oddly, both are void of a start button. I wonder how that's going to play out. So here's their first CDI game, Laser Lords. In the beginning, you fly off into space in some magical car, and some douchebag broke a rule and wants to control the universe, or some shit like that. Then this ugly lizard fish or whatever mutant rambles on about how he's going to guide you in your confrontation with the bad guy. So you end up in the desert, and you play as this guy who looks like that shithead from Total Recall for the NES. Speaking of the NES, these graphics look like 8-bit shit, and you'd expect better graphics for a system that came out during the 16-bit era, but whatever. So you walk around and talk to people, and yeah.
What's this? Another starman! By Sisis, where is the hero promised by prophecy?
And this is not interesting in the slightest. Next. Dark Castle. Now here's a real gem. So you start off in this great hall and you run into these rooms. Uh-oh, it's trouble. So you got these bats, and apparently you're carrying around a stash of rocks to throw. The only problem is, the aiming scheme is the most unintuitive piece of shit in the world. Naturally, you'd expect an 8-way throwing or shooting scheme like in many classic games, but instead, what you get is the most failed attempt at precision throwing ever. So after throwing something, he just holds his arm up like he's at a Hitler rally. And to make things worse, this guy's a complete pussy. I mean, everything kills you in one hit. That's right, one hit. Even a fucking mouse kills you in one hit. And if you thought that was bad, this guy gets dazed. You jump too far, you get dazed. You fall off the ledge, you get dazed. You touch the wall, you get dazed. All the while, some bat or a fucking mouse comes in and kills you. This game fucking sucks. Next! Mega Maze. This is one of those addicting puzzle games. All the balls move in the direction of the control pad, and you have to use the walls to navigate the blue ball from point A to point B without hitting any of the other balls, and the mazes get progressively more difficult to manage. If you like puzzle games, then this is right up your alley. Burn Cycle. Here you play as this data thief who has a virus injected into his brain, and he has 2 hours to find a cure, otherwise he will die. So you have 2 hours to complete the game, and it starts off as some sort of semi-rail shooter / FPS in a futuristic setting. You get to move in a certain direction, and then an enemy appears and you try to shoot him before he shoots you. After neutralizing the enemy, you can choose which direction you want to go. Later on, the game focuses on puzzle solving, talking to people, and acquiring and using items which you can use to gain access to new areas and progress further into the game. The game's soundtrack also features some pretty upbeat music, which can be fun to listen to. Overall, this is a pretty good game. Mad Dog McCree. This game uses a lot of full motion video. Here you're in this town in the Wild West that's been taken over by some gang. This game just sucks. Here you shoot bad guys and you can only shoot them at a certain time. I mean, look, I'm shooting right at him and he doesn't die. You have to wait until they draw before you can shoot them. I mean, it's ridiculous. The hit detection is horrible, and you have to be precise with your shots. And to top that off, the acting in this game just plain sucks. I mean, look at this death scene. And oddly, he seems void of any gunshot wounds. In addition, bad guys always come out at a certain time, so it's all about trial and error and memorization. Speaking of memorization, here's Space Ace, where all you do is press the right buttons at the right times, and if you fuck up once, you're dead. Here you play as some kid named Dexter who has to rescue Kimberly, who's really just a redhead version of Princess Daphne.
I'll save you, Kimmy!
Get me out of here!
Speaking of Daphne, she's been kidnapped again in Dragon's Lair 2, where you do the same exact thing as in Space Ace. Here, Dirk's mother-in-law tries to kill him, so he flees into the castle and... yeah. Escape from Cyber City. Okay, this is another shooter like Mad Dog McCree. Here you play as some kid fighting robots, and you can choose different paths and face different opponents and hazards. Again, there's a degree of memorization. Aside from shooting, there are parts where you ride and have to avoid obstacles. If you fuck up once, you're dead. Kether. Here's an interesting one. Here you go through temples collecting artifacts, but first you have to fly there. It's kind of like Star Fox, except you can't shoot, which kind of sucks. Once you get to the temple, you do this memory puzzle to gain access, and once inside, you'll be in this first-person mode where you look for artifacts, and there are these things that come out and attack you. After you collect all the artifacts, you can leave. One word of advice though, don't crash the ship. Voyeur. Okay, a keypad. What the fuck is this? New code? No. Okay, I want to play the fucking game. I don't want to deal with this shit. So I checked the game manual and it informs me that it is a lockout screen. Lockout screen? Why the fuck is there a lockout screen? Okay. So you play detective by pointing your camera at this mansion, trying to find clues to solve a murder mystery involving a presidential candidate, and you're supposed to find evidence and expose him. You do that by eavesdropping on conversations and observing other evidence. You have only about 40 hours to do this, so you can't dawdle. Once you've gathered enough evidence, you call the police. But whatever you do, don't get caught.
Close, huh?
Yeah, very close. Compliments of Mr. Hawk.
Due to YouTube's time limit on videos, this video has been split into 2 parts. This is the end of the first part. Please click on the link in the description box to watch the rest of this video. Thank you.